The first thing we're going to begin with this complete guide to strength training for endurance athletes is the gains that you can expect to achieve by including strength training into your endurance training plan. I'm gonna say this as a spoiler alert, hands down, one of the best things you can do for your overall health and for your endurance training performance is include strength training. The gains are numerous. We're going to get into what you can expect to achieve right now.
My name is Taren. In my late 20s, I was overweight, unfulfilled, and couldn't even run to the end of the block. Over the following 10 years, I lost 65 pounds racing triathlons, running races, cycling events, and world championships. But eventually, the suffer culture of endurance sports training caught up to me, causing health issues and injuries. Now, my company Motive and I are on a mission to help people live more fulfilling lives by reaching endurance sports goals using healthy methods. We can all kill it on race day without killing our bodies. Let's do it.
The gains that you can expect to achieve, the tangible things that you can take away from including strength training into your endurance training plans are numerous, but I've summarized the 6 really big ones here. The first one being improved economy. What that means is not your GDP, it's not the inflation rate that we might be hearing about in the news these days. It is the energy that you are expelling in doing your endurance training plan. So the energy that you are using to swim, bike, run is actually going to be less at the same pace by including strength training. I believe the reason for this is because your body is able to function with more muscle groups and more muscle groups that are functioning really well. So by doing that, it's less of a load on your body because it doesn't have to work overtime, like fire at a higher rate with fewer muscle groups when it has more muscle groups to work really well with. You might actually think that it would actually be the opposite, that you get big and bulky and actually have to use more energy to propel yourself forward, but it's actually the opposite. You're going to use less energy than you would otherwise. The second thing, and I think that this is very important for all of us, is hormones. There was a time where I actually believed that people getting to the Ironman World Championship, they were better able to adapt to and handle the rigors of endurance sports training, and that their hormones therefore would be better. But even at the Ironman World Championship, where these people are by definition the people who are able to withstand the rigors of endurance training better than most of us, 60% of the athletes who were tested there actually had a suboptimal hormone profile. This is really, really important for all of us aging endurance athletes, because if we make our hormone profile worse by including endurance training, we're actually increasing the speed at which we age. We're increasing the likelihood that we're going to have sleep disturbances, which then makes our hormones worse. We're increasing the likelihood that we will maintain fat and not be able to hold a good body composition. We're increasing the likelihood that our muscles will deteriorate at a faster rate, increasing the likelihood that we will have a severe injury later that will completely sideline us and ruin our quality of life as we age. Having a good hormone profile is really, really critical. Third, related to that, is muscle sparing. As we age, we've heard the adage that every year past the age of 40 that we lose roughly 1 pound of muscle mass. This loss in muscle mass is largely what's contributed to the vast amount of injuries that happen in broken hips, broken bones, limbs, and things that sideline you when you're 50, 60, 70. Quite often, these major sidelines where you're bedridden for several weeks, if not months on end, are the leading cause of poor quality of life in the latter stages of your life. So we want to maintain that muscle as long as we possibly can. You might think, well, it's just part of aging. We've actually seen that in 70-plus-year-olds, they can maintain and even grow muscle mass by including strength training. But if you don't include that strength training, it just withers away. And if you're doing nothing but endurance training, it withers away even more because your body goes, hey, you know, all of this muscle is more mass that I have to push and it's making things more difficult, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. You don't want that to happen because it's likely going to lead to poor quality of life later on. Fourth, again, related to that, is body composition. We all want to look and feel good. We want to be able to take our shirts off and say, hey, that's a fit dude or dudette there. If you are gradually losing muscle mass over and over every single year, it's more likely that you are eventually going to look in that mirror and just look like an old person. The longer we can hold on to that muscle mass, the better our body fat composition is going to be, the better we are going to feel about ourselves, the better we're going to be as a healthy human. So this is very important to make sure that we maintain that muscle mass just from a body composition standpoint, because the body composition standpoint is a good proxy for being a healthier human overall. Fifth thing related to all of this, as I mentioned, it's injury avoidance. It has been proven that strength training is a very good way to combat the likelihood of sport-specific injuries occurring. In addition to that, as I mentioned, one of the biggest things that will decrease your quality of life significantly, and I can think back to my uncle who had a fall when he was around 60 or so that was so severe that it resulted in a stroke, and for the rest of his life he's been basically chair-ridden. This was somebody who was the life of the party, the center of attention. He organized all the family parties. But now, for the last several decades of his life, he really hasn't been able to live the life that he wanted to live, and this was all because of incurring one major injury. If we can avoid the likelihood of that happening as we age, the better our lives are going to be. And wrapping that all up, this is all kind of the same thing. It has aging benefits. By being more mobile, by being stronger, by being more agile, by being able to hit yourself on the edge of a coffee table and stop yourself from falling, by being able to go for a ride or a run and not be bent over and injured or feeling terrible the next day, the longer we're going to be able to enjoy our lives, the longer we're going to be able to live our lives. And that's all what we really want, right? Finisher medals are great, and the plaques on the wall for what we've accomplished in endurance sports are great. But if we can't look back on them fondly and actually experience those for decades and years to come, what are we doing this for? We don't want to sacrifice our health long term for some short-term goals, when really well-designed endurance training plan can supplement your endurance training goals and your long-term life goals. So let's marry those two by getting all of the gains that we possibly can and include strength training into our endurance training. Thank you, Motivator, for watching this gains section of our complete guide to strength training for endurance athletes. If you want to go to the complete video where we talk about all of these sections here, you can go to the full video that is linked up here, where we also go into what this pie chart means and how you can apply that to your strength training. If you want to get the playlist of all of these individual videos, you can click that right over here. And if you aren't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button below. Later, Motivators.